John Marsden was born on September 27, 1950, in Victoria, Australia. Ever since John was little, he enjoyed reading. His teacher in 4th grade encouraged him to write. Then a couple years later, he decided to become an author. John grew up as the middle child with a very conservative father who was also a bank executive and fought during World War II. His mother was a woman who believed in a strong education and would do anything for her kids to have a successful life. John's family has no history of any writers. His grandfather was a very popular opera singer at the time, and his great-great-great-uncle was an Australian clergyman, Mr. Reverend Samuel Marsden. When John was 10 years old, his family moved from Victoria to Sydney. Marsden attended King's School, Parramatta for 7 years. King's School is a very strict military-like school. Even though the school was very strict, John would ignore most of the rules. This would lead him to being constantly in detention, which is actually where he would do most of his reading. After finishing King's School, John went to the University of Sydney, which is where he began to study arts and law. During this time is when he began to feel lonely due to family issues and his own personal problems. This led to John dropping out of school and was hospitalized for depression. This hospital trip actually helped John because it allowed him to learn more about himself and help him begin a new, happier life. After his hospital stay, John started looking for jobs. It wasn't until 1978 when he decided to start teaching. John started by teaching physical education at the All Saints College in Bathurst, Australia. John later decided to stop teaching physical education and sports and start teaching English and writing. John continued to teach and write. His book, So Much to Tell You, was published in 1987, and he wrote the whole thing in only 3 weeks. John's audience mainly consisted of teenagers, and they loved the book, so he continued to teach and write. John has wrote many other books, including Letters from the Inside, which is about 2 girls. Tracy and Mandy begin to write to each other after Tracy puts an ad in a magazine. Mandy later realizes that Tracy has been lying about her life and confronts her about it. Tracy has been telling Mandy that she lives a pretty great life, going to school, being with her family, and riding her horses. However, Tracy is actually in a juvenile detention center for untold reasons. Most of John's books deal with sexuality, survival at school, conflict with adult authority, violence in society, and living in a harsh world. Most of these are due to problems he's had in his own personal life. Other books include Everything I Know About Writing, Secret Men Business, A Room Full of Magic, Millie, and many more. They include both fiction and non-fiction. Some of his biggest hits are the Tomorrow series and the Ellie Chronicles. John has sold more than 2.5 million books in Australia alone. During all this, John was working on other ideas. He had bought some land in Melbourne where he held writing workshops, attracting people from everywhere. This inspired him to go even farther with it. So, in 2006, he opened his own school. Candlebark is an educational school that goes preschool through 10th grade. John is the principal, and he tries to keep the school relatively small. The reason why he wants to keep it small is so it maintains its comfortable atmosphere for the students. John continues to do what he loves and is excited to see how Candlebark continues to develop.